Hey everybody, welcome to the Boulder Council Breakdown, our second episode. So last week we took a week off. There was no council meeting for the long holiday weekend, and but we're back with you this week after our meeting last night. We're gonna run through some of the things that happened at the meeting and some of the things that we're excited about in the upcoming week. Nicole, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, just hi everybody, and thanks for tuning in to our last video, and we are glad to be here with you this morning. So last night, Lauren, was the first day of December and the first of our 3 meetings this month. We have a lot to get through in the next few weeks before we have a 2-week council recess. So what are some of the biggest things from last night's meeting that stood out for you?
You know, most of the things last night were fairly sort of procedural and kind of in the realm of just the city business. You know, I was really excited that we appointed you and Aaron Brockett to our library district trustee selection committee. I think that you guys will do a great job. There was also the DCS standards, which are the design and construction standards, which might not sound that exciting for people like me in architecture. They actually do impact quite a bit. It's everything from how wide a sidewalk is to like what the slopes of a driveway can be. They impact a lot of sort of the nitty-gritty of what it feels like to walk, bike, and drive around downtown. City staff had brought forward a number of suggestions and changes, and we accepted all of those and then added when we should look at collision studies with new drives and things like that.
And when you say new drives, Lauren, you're talking about like new driveways or like places where cars go from streets into parking lots and things like that?
Yeah, it's actually about when you increase sort of the number of cars that are visiting a particular property, that can trigger a traffic study, or in this case, we're also saying, you know, if that reaches a certain level or there's reason for concern, it's also going to require a collision study, which is a little bit more intensive.
And if I'm understanding correctly, a lot of this came out of the discussion around the new hotel on Broadway in Grandview that's going to the conference center that's going to go in there.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of concerns that we didn't do kind of this deeper look at how vulnerable we may be to more collisions and things like that as that opens up. So is that right?
Yeah, that's part of what it's intended to address and help ensure in the future that the city continues to have control over and be able to protect people from those kinds of, you know, traffic related incidents.
Seems like a good thing, especially as we were talking a little bit last night about the TIP process and the transportation funds that we're going to be applying for. That a lot of what the Denver Regional Council of Governments is working toward with allocating transportation funding is more multimodal transportation. And so it seems like this will do a good job of kind of making sure that as we're building out more multimodal infrastructure for more people to bike and walk and take transit, we will also have the kind of safety measures in place to make sure we're doing that in a way that's not going to cause a lot more car and pedestrian or bike interactions.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is a good segue to one of the other big topics we discussed last night, which is that the Dr. Cog Board update. We got a quick summary from about 3 different projects, looking at Folsom from Colorado to Pine, looking at West Colorado between Folsom and Regent, and 30th between Colorado and Baseline. You know, I personally am really excited to see Folsom, that particular section of Folsom, get added into the work plan and have sort of a pathway forward for how we might see some improvements there. That one's always been a a little terrifying and one that I use regularly. Do you have anything you were particularly excited about with those projects or framing you want to add?
Yeah, no, for me, it's the stuff along 30th Street. It is one of the faster ways for me to get around, north and south in town on my bike. And it is the one that every time I start heading out from Willville north, I do kind of say a little prayer, like, hope I make it.
I have two other big things I think on our agenda from last night that I want to talk about. The ARPA funding. We looked at the overall scope of what has been funded from ARPA dollars within the city. So we got a little reminder of what had been already allocated, as well as looking at what we still have the opportunity to allocate. We have 2.5 million for mental health and capacity building and staff training. So trying to address kind of the shortage of mental health providers. We have 1.5 million for childcare industry providers and support. Of that, 700,000 going for turning a city building into a childcare facility, and 800,000 for childcare subsidies and professional development. And again, so these are projects that staff is looking to bring forward. We'll get more detail on them as they come forward, but this is sort of more like big picture, the kinds of directions that we'd like to go with these different areas of spending. We also had 2.75 million for a guaranteed income pilot project. That's something we discussed in a previous round of funding and had set aside funding to hire someone to help us start up the program. But this allows us to actually set aside the money to bring forward the program and to get it started.
One of the other big areas of spending these ARPA funds is a $3 million second mortgage program for residents of the Ponderosa Mobile Home Park. And they will be using that to replace old and unstable homes with new energy efficient modular homes from the factory that we talked about last time. So that's pretty exciting. We've got some money, about $500,000 going to severe weather sheltering for folks experiencing homelessness, about $500,000 to continue economic recovery, and then about $700,000 to workforce development and programs that are going to address the increasing costs of rental space for small businesses, within a special focus on BIPOC and woman-owned businesses. So that's all pretty exciting as well.
And then the last thing I wanted to bring up from our council meeting is the Mayor Pro Tem appointment. So it was amazing to have both you and Mark step forward and offer to fill that role. We got such great feedback from the community, and unfortunately, Mark got the votes and will be our next Mayor Pro Tem, but it was really heartwarming, like just the dialogue that came out of it. And I think that I personally walked away not feeling really like it was a loss, but we have a lot of momentum to go forward and do exciting things.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it was, I had some folks reach out to me last night, very sweetly, just, checking in how I was doing. And my overwhelming feeling was just hope and love, for our community. The number of, especially, working parents who, after getting through a full day of work and, putting their kids to bed and all this stuff, they still stayed up with us to speak at like 10:30 at night, right? And they still have to get up for work today. So that was really cool. Seeing, 7 students from CU student government show up, and, their leadership kind of showed up to use their voices. I just found that so inspiring. I feel like there are many people in our community who are recognizing that they deserve a voice in our city's government and leadership and the policies that we make. And I am just so excited about what that means for our city's future and our future leaders who are coming after us. All right, so just a quick update about what is coming up in our last two meetings of 2022. We are going to be discussing next week at our study session, a quarterly update from our police department and from the municipal court. We will on we'll also be talking about a non-police behavioral health emergency response program that is starting up, that is for responding to any kind of behavioral health emergency that doesn't necessarily have a kind of a safety or kind of criminal component to it. So we will be discussing that. And then on the 15th, we've got discussions about our land use table, which I'm sure that Lauren, you can tell us next week why that is so exciting. And then we've got an update about our e-scooter pilot program. I think those are kind of the big things that are still to come in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for more excitement and fun as we finish up this year.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we look forward to bringing you another Boulder City Council breakdown next week.
Bye.